Hey guys, Stock Saturday, and it's been a remarkably green week, for me at least, outperforming the market for once. Well, I've sort of had a couple of minor outperformances in the last month, but yeah, very strong this week. 12.6% in the green, which compared to the S&P, 1.76%, and Nasdaq 2.31, a little bit better. But yes, 12.6%. A great deal of this, surprisingly, has come from the gold and silver miners. Crypto, sort of, Bitcoin hasn't really moved a huge amount, but the miners have, so they've done a little bit better as well. But yeah, we'll sort of come to the gold and silver. Not a huge amount of change here. Broadcom did sort of push up to, I think, new highs, and then has sort of retraced a little bit, but yeah, still sitting sort of close to 500% in the green, so that's very nice. TSMC sort of pushing up as well, back into the 200s. So some of these looking pretty good. BlackRock sort of nearly 1,000 again. That come right down. I wasn't able to to top up. Still keeping all of this cash and sort of actively looking to sell a little bit more to pay for the mortgage. And so, yeah, it seems a shame to maybe sort of get rid of some of these, or some of the options or something. But yeah, has to be done. So as far as developments go this week, it's basically all crypto. If that's not your sort of thing, then you might want to skip this one. But obviously, it's a huge part of my portfolio, so I do focus on them. So CleanSpark, sort of my biggest holding in the ISA, had a pretty good week. Sort of no real surprises. They're just carrying on as they have been. They do talk about sort of year-on-year changes. I don't tend to focus on that all that much, since they come out with monthly updates. You tend to sort of compare it to the last, month or two at least. But they're saying still on track to achieve 50 exahash by the end of June, and they did get to 45.6 at the end of, well, this week really. So that's pretty solid, and yeah, 4.4 to go in the whole of June. So wouldn't imagine that'll be difficult to get there. Produced 694 this month, so pretty solid. Still around the sort of 700 mark. Difficulty is going up again. More people, even though you're getting some people converting existing hash rate to AI, and sort of some people switching off, and a Chinese ban. I thought the Chinese ban might have had some more of an effect. They're sort of saying that they're banning mining and holding crypto and everything. Kind of thought they were going to maybe go the other way, leaving Hong Kong as sort of the little petri dish to test out crypto, basically, I guess. But yeah, difficulty still rocketing up. And they do hold 12,502 now, so noting that they are selling a reasonable amount, 293 sold out of 694, a little bit more than they used to. Some other miners are selling their entire stash, but yeah, they've chosen not to. And efficiency down a little bit, they were at 17, so now at 16.71. That's pretty good, with obviously difficulty going up. They have noted as well that they're not stopping. With much infrastructure already in place, they are well positioned to achieve over 60 exahash. So, yeah, no one else has sort of mentioned going to that number yet. A lot of them seem sort of relatively paused at 50. Or, well, Marathon, I think, are at 57. I'm guessing they can sort of have a little bit more to top that up and go over 60. But, yeah, presuming this would sort of need more share issuance or debt or something to acquire a site. Maybe they're saying infrastructure already in place, but it never seems to be all the money needed. They need to raise funds, but we'll see. So CleanSpark, I just go in the all-in Bitcoin, expand, improve efficiency route, rather than sort of some of the others with fingers in many pies. Yeah, such as Riot, of course. Obviously, waiting on the big AI deal. That is sort of the real thing that is going to drive Riot. To be honest, they have this enormous hodl balance, 19,225, and not a huge operating exahash. They're up to 31.5, so it's a little bump. I think it went down last week, last month, so that wasn't ideal, but. Yeah, up to 31.5, mind 514 Bitcoin. But obviously, having this huge Bitcoin on the balance sheet, they do end up with a very large market cap. And yeah, I'm not really sort of one for this, Bitcoin going up, as I mentioned before, sort of Bitcoin going up being called net profit because it just isn't. It's a balance sheet adjustment as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, do prefer sort of the other miners, but I kind of keep Riot for the potential AI deal because they seem to be going around. I've seen Applied Digital this week rocket up on the back of a deal with CoreWeave. I suppose we are running out of, I guess, potential capacity for CoreWeave if they've now done, I think, 3 deals. Done a deal with Galaxy. So yeah, I'm sure they're not going to have everyone in the space, but yeah, if you look at sort of demand apparently for AI, there's plenty more, like 60 gigawatts needed for AI if you believe the figures in the next in the next couple of years. So yeah, CoreWeave have done about 1 gigawatt, I think, from their deal so far. There are people talking about whether the miners would do a deal directly with with people like Microsoft and Meta and all the rest of them, rather than sort of go through an intermediary like CoreWeave. But we'll have to see. Obviously, CoreWeave are up like 180% since their launch, 200% plus. I know, I think. But yeah, interesting from Riot. Sort of slightly better month. They did sell all of their Bitcoin, pretty much 500 Bitcoin, which was interesting. They're sort of going this route rather than dilution and more debt. I suppose everyone's sort of thinking, stock price isn't great. Bitcoin at 105,000 is reasonably good. So rather than dilution, they'll just sell all their Bitcoin, and they already hold 19,000. So adding another 500 to that isn't exactly massive. Still relatively small numbers on the credits as well. Sort of 600,000 in power credits and 1.6 million demand response credits. You sort of see compared to last May, 7.1 million in total. So it's not as lucrative at the moment. Does mean all-in power cost 3.8 cents, where yeah, you can see 1.9 cents last year. So yeah, for whatever reason that is. Fleet efficiency as well, for some reason, increased 0.2 joules a terahash. So yeah, a little bit unusual. Operating hash rate increasing. I can't imagine they're installing less efficient machines than that. But yeah, for whatever reason, it's gone ever so slightly up. And they're just talking about their expanded AI potential, waiting for a deal. They acquired 355 acres of land near Corsicana as well, looking to further support more expansion. But obviously all of this is now, expanding, waiting for a deal, and then someone to probably invest all of the money for capex, basically, because none of these miners really have the the cash to be able to fund building, the remainder of an enormous site, or sort of kitting out the site to be AI capable. Buying all the, they're not going to buy a load of Nvidia cards at $40,000 a pop. So yeah, waiting for that deal basically. So Hive, quite a large position for me, more on the option side. My sort of extremely slow going miner, making a huge deal in the last few weeks about increasing 1 exahash a week, which is not exactly huge when you look at sort of people like Iron and Marathon and people like that. But yeah, they've reached 10.4, yes, 10.4 exahash by the end of May. So still saying they're on target for 11.5 by the end of June. But yeah, 6.6 exahash in April. I suppose it is a decent increase, but they're sort of talking as if no one's ever done that in a month. And yeah, this has increased. They were sort of at 100 Bitcoin per month. So yeah, 139 Bitcoin mined in May, pretty good, averaging 4.5. I think they said they're averaging 5 now. Yeah, Aiden said they've lifted their daily production to over 5. So yeah, looking more like sort of 150 a month, and they're expanding more. So yeah, hoping to get to what are they saying? Yeah, 18 exahash by the end of September, and 25 exahash by Q4. And yeah, I can't see this playing out sort of with difficulty increasing, but they're saying that would be 12 Bitcoin a day. So 300, over 300 a month, which for Hive's market cap would be an enormous amount. They're still very, very efficient, 16.4 Bitcoin per exahash. I think this is sort of pretty much top of the league, so it's something they are good at, even if they do have very high energy cost. And 20 joules per terahash efficiency. It's not the worst, but you got Iron at 15 and CleanSpark at 16.7. So as they add more, I kind of thought going from 6.6 to 10.4, they would have brought this down, installing sort of the latest machines. But there you go. Oh, and lowering their production cost to under 50,000 per Bitcoin. I think this is just electricity cost and everything. This doesn't include depreciation, unless they haven't said all-in cost. But yeah, production cost, I would see that as not including depreciation. So they are still a very, very high cost miner, which gives you that leverage, I suppose. If we were to go to 125, 150,000 dollar Bitcoin, then you would expect Hive to increase the most, because their profit sort of margin would increase the most. So yeah, decent potential there, and they obviously are still doing a little bit of AI. They sort of run it themselves rather than sort of looking for a big deal to come in, and they're sort of doing, I think, $20 million a year on an annualized basis. So they have said that they want to grow this to 100, but not sure how how realistic that is without sort of expansion, and would need sort of dilution or debt or something. But yeah, not a bad month. And then Iron, sort of the one that I have been growing quite a bit, and has grown to, I think, larger than the Hive position actually, because they've been doing remarkably well. They are saying they're on track for 50 exahash by the end of this month, which is pretty good. And considering where they are, 30, average operating hash rate of 38.4. I think they've said. I think they said they at about 40, 41 exahash installed, on track for 50 by June the 30th. So as I say about Hive, doing one a week, this is 9 in a month. So that is very, very strong. And they keep, highlighting this annualized 977 million in mining revenue, and highlighting the adjusted EBITDA numbers that would bring. Obviously with some relatively optimistic predictions maybe about difficulty not increasing and costs not increasing. But yeah, that's not too bad. Obviously they sell all of their Bitcoin mined, so they did 627 this month and sold the whole lot, so that it can properly be counted as revenue. And electricity cost $27,000. So this is why they are one of the only profitable miners, really, or I think pretty much the only profitable one in Q1. So that was very good. I don't like this hardware profit margin, but everyone seems to report it. There's obviously other costs and depreciation and everything. So yeah, I think that should really be reported. AI cloud services as well, 2.2 million for the month. So yeah, compared to, they show April and March. You know, March was 1.6 million, so that's quite a big increase in 2 months, and sort of pushing them to 27 million on an annualized basis. Obviously, if you know, Bitcoin's going to grow to 977, then yeah, 28 million isn't huge, but it is very very high margin. Not 98% net profit, obviously. Again, that's hardware profit margin. That's electricity cost only, they're saying. So it doesn't include buying the rigs and sort of depreciation of the rigs, you know, having to replace them. But it is on an electricity basis, very good margin. And they're expecting to complete their Horizon 1 data center by the end of Q4. So this might be sort of one to hold on to beyond this year. I'm sort of largely looking to get rid of most of my miners towards the end of this year, or by the end of this year, possibly into Q1 next year, but we'll have to see. We don't know if the sort of 4-year cycle has been sort of extended or broken. You know, I don't think it's a crypto 4-year cycle. That's the sort of business macro 4-year cycle. You know, can stretch to 5 years certainly. But yeah, we'll have to see. It should be noted that Horizon 1 is only a 50 megawatt site, or, you know, 50 megawatt unit as far as I'm aware. So when they're talking about sort of 2 gigawatts at Sweetwater, you know, in 2 phases, that is an enormous amount for them to potentially do a deal on. This is, I think they're looking to do a deal on this sort of 2 gigawatts, and then the 50 megawatt Horizon 1 they'll run themselves and get the revenue direct from that. But obviously 2 gigawatts would take billions and billions to you know, to push out. But as I say, if CoreWeave have sort of done nearly 1 gigawatt, I think, maybe a bit more than 1 gigawatt, with 3 separate people, you know, having 2 gigawatts basically on one site, you could get a you know, a Meta or a Microsoft or someone come in and say, fine, we'll fund it. Or Microsoft don't seem to be too interested in funding things directly. They would rather lease, but yeah, however they would look to do it, I think this should be factored into the market cap a little bit more, I think, because, you know, if Core Scientific sort of doubled, almost tripled, I think, on the news of their deal, and that was for 400 megawatts. This is 5 times the size. So yeah, huge potential. So of the 4, I suppose, it's CleanSpark that are doing best on, well, they're doing well on Bitcoin mining, I suppose. I would say Iron probably are doing the best on Bitcoin mining, having the cheapest fleet and the highest profit, basically. And then sort of the most potential on an AI deal, I suppose, is Iron as well. Hence why I'm sort of have been growing my position over the last month, and it's gone up and outperformed some of the rest of the miners as well. So yeah, pretty strong. Riot still waiting for a deal. Hive just really need Bitcoin to rocket up, but if it does, I think they could potentially do the best from here. And yeah, CleanSpark's sort of just doing their own thing. So economic news, we had quite a bit this month. Some ISM numbers sort of looking slightly weak. Manufacturing 48.5, but yeah, their sort of plans with tariffs and everything to sort of bring manufacturing back home obviously is going to take years and years. It's not something that gets done shortly after Liberation Day. EU provisional inflation numbers, 2.3% on core inflation year on year. So you can see why they're sort of maybe concerned about you know, about this falling. They obviously say they want it at 2%, but you know, down from 2.7. I think it rose from 2.4 to 2.7. So it was just a 1 month anomaly maybe. So back down to 2.3, headline below 2, and unemployment at 6.2, where, you know, US is at 4.2. And then, yeah, non-farm employment numbers was much lower than expected. Come to that a little bit later. ISM non-manufacturing PMI, the big sort of bellwether for the US economy, 49.9. So 50 being sort of neutral, basically, just slightly under neutral, although quite a bit lower than expected and lower than last month. Don't think people were sort of too happy about that, but we sort of had news change since then. The EU cut rates, so they are at, they have various bank lending rates and things, but the main rate is 2.15%, so less than half the Fed funds rate at the moment. Very strong, I suppose. The inflation isn't all that much different to the US, and you can see why potentially Donald Trump is kind of having a go at Jerome Powell. You got Europe sort of less than half their rates with similar inflation. And yes, we had the non-farm payrolls on Friday, so 139,000, stark difference to the ADP number. This sort of always is, it seems. They have their basically made up sort of new business numbers that they put in. So let's assume some people have created some new businesses and employed a load of people, and then in a year they'll knock 800,000 jobs off it. So it's kind of a nonsense figure, but obviously has a massive effect on the market every time it comes out. And yeah, it was above expectations. They did revise last month's down from 177 to 147, but I think people were expecting a lot weaker than this, sort of in the double figures, or maybe even single figures. So yeah, April was good, May was good. Tariffs don't seem to have had a huge impact. I'm guessing private was 1,000 higher than the main number, so government would be negative. Whether that's sort of Doge cuts or just people leaving or whatever, or just a monthly sort of anomaly. But yeah, private number. We sort of had the whole of the Biden administration with this number being very, very low, and government jobs sort of holding up the rest. So good to see private doing well. And unemployment was unchanged. I think there was calls for this to, it wouldn't have been a huge change, but raised to 4.3%. So yeah, this sticking rigidly where it is very good for the economy. So portfolio-wise, you'll note cash has increased. I made a sale, sold 400 shares of Coeur Mining because it was rocketing up, and I did start to sort of think, hang on, I've got about 10% of the entire, 10% of my entire wealth, including all of the crypto in Coeur Mining, which started to sound like quite a lot, when I wouldn't sort of say they're super undervalued. Now that they've sort of rocketed up with silver going up $9.37, I'm sort of comparing them to Equinox Gold and Pan American Silver and people like that, and yeah, they sort of seem potentially overvalued in comparison, but maybe still, undervalued to reasonably valued on an absolute basis. But yeah, decided to sort of take a little bit off the table. It's 260% in the green, so yeah, bought at a very opportune moment in the downturn there. CleanSpark sort of pushing up almost $10 as well. Fresneo as well, just sort of carries on smashing it, doing their thing. Bought at £7.22 earlier this year, and it's already 85% in the green. And I also got a £750 dividend from them as well. So kind of forgot that they went ex-dividend. With sort of didn't really notice it in the price. It's quite a big dividend, and I think they must have had a small dip and then carried on upwards. So yeah, 85%. That doesn't even include a £750 dividend. And they've sort of rocketed above Equinox Gold and Riot platforms without me making any changes or, buying or selling anything. They're now third largest position. So very happy with them. I kind of forget about them sometimes because I don't have any options on them. So I'm always thinking about sort of time scale and things with Coeur Mining and Equinox Gold, and Fresneo just sort of kind of does its own thing because I'm just holding it. So very happy with them. Iron, sort of, as I say, pushing up. Hive Digital sort of doing okay, back above $2, but yeah, really needs to push on. I am at absolute zero on returns because my average price was $2.01 as well, and yeah, potential I think for quite a few of these. I think the account's up. This account's up about 21,000 this week, so very, very strong. And my little interactive brokers account, as I say, Pan American sort of pushing right up with the gains in silver. We had sort of two $1.30, $1.40 days in a row, and yeah, the miners obviously loved that. As I say, comparing sort of Pan American silver being about double the market cap, sort of post both of their acquisitions of Equinox Gold, and for what they're doing, I sort of did a little comparison the other week. It sort of seems, in comparison, overvalued. So having 20,000 here, I am kind of tempted to start thinking about swapping this for some Equinox if we keep getting this sort of performance. Although, obviously, if silver keeps doing well, Equinox have no silver at all, so yeah, you would expect Pan American to sort of be outperforming a little. I might consider sort of averaging out and, maybe selling a few thousand at a time. Do have to pay fees on interactive brokers a little bit more than sort of Trading212, so I'd probably do it in slightly bigger chunks than otherwise. But yeah, potentially doing that. Shouldn't count out KGHM, of course. They actually do more silver than Pan American, and they've sort of been getting a little bit of love this week, but obviously they're sort of mainly copper focused. But yeah, enormous. They do they're half the market cap in dollars roughly than Pan American silver, and they do more silver. So yeah, shouldn't forget that. And on the option side, we got back into the green this week. These are up 24,000-ish overall. Equinox gaining a decent amount of that gain. Coeur Mining. So I sold 9 contracts of Coeur Mining. Gained sort of about £2,500 from that. Cash increased, and again, I'll be sort of probably wanting to withdraw pretty much all of this cash. Yeah, oh, we did buy a little bit of Hive, actually. I think I should up that to, what is it, 1,519. I do still have some that are going to expire next month, absolutely worthless. So that is about, well, that's about £2,000 of this loss. But yeah, shouldn't have gone for June. That was a little bit optimistic. But yeah, Coeur Mining doing really well. Hive's increased about £1,500, I think. Iron a couple of weeks ago was about 16,000, dropped down to I think 10.5, and it's now at 18. So you can see what happens with the options with this sort of volatility. Himax doing pretty well. Riot I think has doubled. That was about 4,500 last week. So yeah. Admittedly, a long way to go. They've just sort of hit about $10, and I've got some $35 strike options. So, yeah, an AI deal would be extremely positive for them. And Cypher and CleanSpark both in the green now, ever so slightly as well. Cypher sort of wasn't bought at the best time. They did have a reasonably big drop straight away after I bought them. But yeah, 26% in the green. So overall, very happy, very strong week, but we do need a fair bit more. So leave your thoughts in the comments below, and like and subscribe. See you soon.